Hello and welcome to Legislative Journal. I'm Faith Camp here with your representative, Representative Brendan Boyle from the 170th District. How are you today?
Doing very well, thank you.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to come and be on our show.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Okay, always a pleasure to have you on the show. Well, let's first talk about your REACH program, which stands for Reliable Educational Assistance for College Hopefuls program. And with this bill, you're hoping that it will help make college more affordable and more accessible for Pennsylvania. So let's talk a little bit about that and the progress that's been made.
Right. So essentially, the REACH scholarship program is modeled off the Hope Scholarship, which exists in Georgia. The way that works is that beginning in 1993, the state of Georgia created this program called HOPE. And essentially the way it works is any high school senior who has a 3.0 GPA and 90% school attendance is able to attend any public college or university in that state tuition free. So when I go home to Philadelphia or I'm somewhere else in the state and I tell people that right now in Georgia, as well as other states, that any high school senior with a 3.0 GPA is able to go to college tuition free in that state, people are shocked. They wish that we had it here, and that's exactly what I'm attempting to do. So the REACH Scholarship, it's a different acronym. Every state has a slightly different name for it. In Georgia, it's the Hope Scholarship. In Florida, it's called Bright Futures. But essentially, it's the same concept, a statewide merit-based scholarship program that would give a tremendous educational opportunity to those who have demonstrated responsibility. A 3.0 GPA is not so high that you have to be an especially gifted student to reach it. Yet at the same time, it's not so low that anyone makes it. It is a reasonable requirement, and you have to get the 3.0 in high school in order to qualify, and then you need to maintain that 3.0 throughout your college years in order to keep the REACH scholarship. And I can tell you, it would make such a difference, Faith, in this state. In Pennsylvania, we have no such thing as the REACH scholarship or the Hope scholarship. In fact, we have some of the most expensive public colleges and universities in the nation. So while other states are wisely making an investment in their future, unfortunately in Pennsylvania we're not doing that, and my REACH scholarship idea would attempt to change it.
Okay, and you're working on this bill with Representative Tony Payton as well, and interestingly enough, you and Representative Payton are two of the youngest members, so you're not extremely far from college age, so it's a little bit more it hits home. For you guys.
It's maybe more relevant for, I'm in my early 30s, Tony is just about 30, so it's probably more relevant for the two of us remembering how difficult it was to pay for college. I can tell you I'm the first in my family to go to college. It was very difficult for me to get there in terms of financially. Without scholarship aid, there's no way I would have gone to college and then on to graduate school. So I'm attempting through my work in the legislature to expand opportunity for all kids out there. It's the right thing to do. It helps, especially working in middle-class families who feel that, I know this was the case with my parents, that my parents didn't make much money, yet they always seem to make a little bit more than whatever it is could get you qualified for some sort of assistance. So I think there's a whole...
It's harder for those.
It's harder for working in middle-class families to afford college. Over the last 25 years, actually over the last 29 years, the college tuition increases have been greater than the rate of inflation every single year. So we are pricing out tons of families in places like Northeast Philadelphia where I live, families in Montgomery County, in Bucks County, all throughout the state are being priced out of higher education, and that is just wrong.
And then these students are graduating with bills that are basically high enough to be a mortgage, and now you have to choose, well, do I really need to go to college? And like you said, I was kind of in that situation too, where sometimes your family makes a little too much to get the break. So here you are in the middle. It's like, well, what do I do? So yeah, thank you so much for this program.
I wish it was around when I was in high school, and it was about 15 years ago that I was looking at colleges, and I was fortunate to get into a few really good ones. But then the real test was attempting to figure out how we were going to pay for it in terms of I pieced together about 4 different scholarships, and then student loans made up the difference. So between college and graduate school, I have tens of thousands of student loan debt, and I was one of the fortunate ones. I know kids who I went to high school with who didn't go on to college because they couldn't afford it, and that was not only a shame for them, it's also a loss for society. Because if you have study after study proves this, that if you have a well-educated workforce, then the companies and employers of the 21st century will locate where there's a talented workforce. So what have we seen in Georgia? What have we seen in Florida? We've seen real economic growth. And part of it, not all of it, but part of it is because they have a much higher percentage of their workforce down there that has a college degree. In Philadelphia, only 18% of Philadelphians have a college degree. Out of the 100 biggest cities in the nation, we're 96th. Now, how in the world do we expect to compete with other metro areas?
That's true.
And
Philadelphia has most of the, well, not most, but a lot of the prominent colleges, such as University of Pennsylvania. So
that is
I wonder what's going on.
That is the sad irony of it, that the Philadelphia area, along with Boston, has more colleges and universities than any other metro area in the nation. And yet, the irony is, in terms of actual Philadelphians with a college degree, we're one of the lowest in the nation. So I know for a fact that the REACH scholarship would change that. I know that it would expand higher education opportunities to a number of families that currently don't see college in their future. And I also know that not only would it be the right thing to do, it would also be the wisest investment that we could make as a society.
Okay. Now with the REACH program, some of the requirements in order to qualify for this is, in addition to having a 3.0 GPA, you also need to have good school attendance. So you can't be this genius who shows up when you feel like it.
Right. No, so there is a school attendance requirement, which is 90%. There's also a requirement to address our brain drain issue. And that is that once you graduate from college, you're required to stay within the Commonwealth for approximately 3 years. And the reason for that is that if we're going to make, as a society, as a Commonwealth, we're going to make this investment in you and give you a full tuition scholarship, we expect you to stay here and to help build up our economy. I think that that's a fair deal. There's also the requirement, there's a community service requirement, a certain number of hours.
100 hours.
100 hours, which is meaningful but certainly not onerous. The idea, again, that if Pennsylvania is making that investment in you, then you should also give back in some way. I think that's fair.
Okay. And as far as having the hours for community service, students can qualify for that even if they just volunteer to be a candy striper. So it's not extremely hard.
There are a number of different ways, and actually I know a number of private scholarships that have a similar requirement. So it's not as if we're creating our own new system. We're simply piggybacking upon a system that already exists.
Okay, and this scholarship fund would be financed by donations and contributions from various public and private sources, correct? And the interest earned by the fund.
Correct. So there would be obviously some public money is what we're talking about here, and there are a number of different ways to do that. In Georgia, they created their statewide lottery in order to fund their statewide scholarship program, the HOPE. Florida did the same thing. Now in Pennsylvania, we already have a statewide lottery, and that goes to a great cause, to senior programs. No one's talking about touching those. So we might be looking at the added gaming revenue that's about to come in through the expansion of table games. That would, just a fraction of that would pay for REACH scholarship in its entirety. There's also, and you mentioned that private sources of money. We're going to have this fund, and it's not just going to be for public money. We know that there are donors out there that want to donate to colleges and universities, but are a little concerned that their donation may not be going fully to its intended source. Sometimes the donation goes for a nice new building or something else, and while that may be worthwhile, I've personally spoken to a number of donors out there who want to ensure that their dollars go toward reducing the cost of college attendance. Donating to the REACH Scholarship Fund is a great way to do that. So let's do this together. Let's make this a public-private partnership. There will be some public dollars, but we're also going to go out and compete for private dollars as well, and I'm quite confident that that combination will keep the scholarship fund solvent for many years. Again, I would point out, Jefferson said that the states are our laboratories of democracy. The experiments are quite clear. Georgia, Florida, West Virginia, a program like this has worked in every single state where it's tried. Now let's do it in Pennsylvania.